This is In Touch with Terri, a power-packed podcast for the medical aesthetics industry.
I just discovered your podcast, and I feel like I've hit a gold mine.
This is someone who's got a lot of knowledge. She's been there, done that.
Terri Ross is a former Fortune 500 executive, international speaker, founder and co-CEO of Apex Platform, and Terri Ross Consulting.
Just listening to her energy and her passion and just how hardcore she is.
Her knowledge of the industry and just her connections in general are phenomenal.
In Touch with Terri will bring you solutions to increase operational and employee efficiency and practice profitability. Plus, feature some of the top industry experts as guests.
The Apex team literally changed the game for us.
Terri, your courses and your podcast are just so helpful.
She made me feel like I could do this.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Now, here's Terri.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of In Touch with Terri. So excited to have the pleasure of having this most amazing man. I mean, truly, when I read you his credentials and his pedigree, shit. I mean, he's a smarty pants, but you are really not going to want to miss this episode. I'm here today with Iggy Fanlo, who is the founder and CEO of Vansanity. And Iggy describes his company that he founded back in 2018 as the WeWork concept on steroids for medical aesthetic practices. And so listen to me clearly, truly. This is innovation and uniqueness. And there are so many people out there. And again, I always try to bring value into my tribe and my listeners that either want to start a med spa, are leaving the hospital setting, leaving a practice, want to go on their own, not sure what it takes, can't afford it, or just kind of need to get started. And so I really, if this is you in any way, capacity, shape, or form, again, this is really about the WeWork concept, a new CloudMedSpa concept. So for aesthetic practitioners and entrepreneurs, we're going to talk today about this non-branded franchise that's available really to anyone, any medical aesthetic spa or practice around the world. And we're going to hear today from Iggy how he developed this concept, what challenges or hurdles it has helped to solve for aesthetic practices, and why you might want to be the first in your area to participate. So welcome, Iggy. So glad to have you.
Thanks so much, Terri. I really appreciate it. I mean, we did connect. I think I found you through LinkedIn. It's got to be 3.5 years ago, give or take. I had no idea what I was doing in the aesthetic space. I was wandering in the desert and you gave me a drink of water. You told me kind of the way of the world, and you set me straight on so many things and really helped in many ways set the right roadmap for me on the way I should attack this. So thank you.
Oh, God. Well, thank you so much. I'm glad I could give you some hydration and look at your success that we're going to talk about. But before we even dive in with Iggy, we have to do his background justice. It is so impressive. And I genuinely am so humbled by people seeking me out in whatever way, shape, or form. And we did connect on LinkedIn so that I'm able to provide value to somebody of his caliber. And I equally love to learn and to continue to push myself in terms of what people are doing in the industry that is innovative for people like you guys that want to have an opportunity. So prior to Vansanity, Iggy founded Lively, which is a smartwatch for the elderly. And he sold in 2016 to Great Call, and then eventually sold to Best Buy for $500 million. From 2006 to 2011, Iggy was the CEO of AdBright, where he helped transform the company from a simple fixed price and network to one of the leading online advertising exchanges. And it was really the first to introduce real-time bidding. AdBright was a pioneer in a fast, efficient marketplaces for the billions of ad impressions going through the online and ecosystem every day. Iggy has held insane senior roles, including president, CEO, COO, CFO. I mean, there is not enough OOOs behind his name. But he has eventually, that company shopping.com went public, underwritten by Goldman Sachs. He sold to eBay in 2005 for $665 million. He has credentials from a degree in chemical engineering from Princeton. So just a brilliant man who has really paved the way for some innovation in aesthetics. So welcome, Iggy, again. You're a very successful entrepreneur. So excited for you to be here today to talk about this concept. And so how did you even go from your background and have a desire for anything in this space, let alone when we dive into what this new WeWork concept is?
Yeah, I guess if I were to say what is one of my real fun pastimes, I like solving puzzles. And this was a puzzle to me. I'll give you the origin story. And the 2000, I want to say 18 Oscars, 17 Oscars, it was an anniversary show. It was like the 75th anniversary. So they were showing all these clips of like the 50th and the 25th and the 70th and whatever. And it was very clear to me, and some people were commenting about the aesthetic of the Hollywood stars, even the Hollywood stars. What was, I guess, deemed acceptable or the norm in the 1940s was way higher in the 50s and then way higher in the 60s and so on and so forth. And HD made that even more. And then David Beckham, the first metrosexual, took it to another level. And then finally, with my daughter, and I see it with social media and selfies, people are taking dozens of pictures of themselves, especially younger generations, every single day. And so the bar just keeps getting higher and higher and higher. And I was like fascinated. I was like, wow, this industry just seems like it's taking off and it has only upside. So I said, let me dive in a little deeper. And the first thing that struck me almost right away, maybe a couple months into my research, I like to research before I do stuff, I found this really strange dynamic in the patient-practitioner relationship. So I'll say it another way for those that are sort of more financially oriented. There was this weird CAC LTV, customer acquisition cost lifetime value conundrum. So most industries, the firm will spend lots of marketing dollars with the anticipation of getting lifetime value, getting a customer who's going to generate revenue and profits for them over the long term. So that's kind of the deal you sign up for. So I saw in hair care, the world had completely changed. I look at the BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and the percentage of hair salons that had used to be employees had now gone to rentals. So people were renting chairs. And why was that? Because salons had traditionally advertised or spent money getting customers, but the loyalty was with the stylist. And I've heard from hundreds of people that is validated. I have a person, I follow them around. I mean, I'm not going to go across the country, although my daughter does come from Denver sometimes and here done in the East Coast with a gal named Pam. It's true. You follow that person around. And sure enough, I said that exact same dynamic exists. I was probing on this. I asked you about it. You validated it. I talked to plastic surgeons, to med spas, to dozens and dozens of people and said, yes, that's right. People are loyal to their injector, loyal to their laser tech. And I said, wow, if you could just create a scenario, and not to denigrate hair care, but you've got scissors, you've got razors, you've got some skin products and a chair. It's fairly simple. Mm-hmm. The regulatory environment is pretty simple and straightforward. But as you know, in medical aesthetics, it's way more complicated. You have energy-based devices, you have other lasers, you have neurotoxins, which is a controlled substance, you have medical directors, you have liability insurance, you have state regulations. I mean, it's a plethora of problems you need to work through. But if you're willing to go through that, and I've learned in my background, anything that's a hurdle for an entrepreneur becomes a barrier to entry for your next competitor.
Yeah. Love that. Love that. Yeah.
If we can get through these things, we can build a model where aesthetic providers or aesthetic practitioners can go and do a WeWork, go in, practice for an hour, for a day, and take their clients, bring them to a beautiful place, and just have tons of fun, make tons of money, and have almost no risk. And I was like, this is amazing. They can make hundreds of dollars an hour. It's like, instead of being an Uber driver or DoorDash for 15, 20, 25 an hour, this would make $250.
Sign me up. So how long did it take you to do this research for you to figure out, hey, I'm going to put my name on this, my stamp on this influx of money because I believe in this? Yeah, no, I mean, friends, family, myself, a couple of large angels. But when I first started looking at the to the time we actually opened the first store in Boston was a solid year and a half. Now, that included build out and lease negotiation, but doing the research, talking to lawyers, making sure I was right, talked to some regulators, communicated with them, talked to people in the industry. What is the needs? I talked to insurance companies, but I finally said, I think we can do this. I really think it's, first of all, it's legal. Second of all, safe. That's another thing I'll address later, but I actually wanted to at first just do it as a platform and let any med spa or any aesthetic practice do it. But I realized it was so new and so novel that I kind of wanted to build a test kitchen. And that's what Boston became. Like, we'll be the front end. We will be the med spa. We will attract providers and we will show them that, yes, they can. And we have dozens of examples of people that quit their jobs or spend half their time with us and they make $200 or $250 an hour. And I said, what we're doing, we can now offer to anyone. We built the second one in Dallas, but now we have 7 locations and we just opened it up to third parties. I guess I want to say like September, October. It took a while. As you know, COVID was a devastating disease that affected, millions of people, and it affected them much more negatively than me, but it did affect our business. I mean, we're a face-to-face business, and so we were closed down for months, and we had to go through all kinds of hoops appropriately for safety, but it slowed the business down for a solid year or more. But now we're on great footing. We've got not quite 100 people renting space and purchasing products. It's another thing. We bring the products to them. We become the vendor and sell them injectables, neurotoxins, fillers, biostimulators. We have energy-based devices. We have all kinds of deals with, really innovative device companies who let us do month-to-month rentals. But literally, for our third-party locations, we just say, we'll handle payment processing, we'll handle the scheduling, we'll handle the maintenance and database records of your directors and your insurance. All you need to do if you're with Medspa is just you take care of the real estate, and in many cases they already have, and you bring together a corpus or a group of practitioners and you grow that community, and then you just offer the services. And those people have, I'll send you the testimonials. I can see it on our website, cloudmedspas.com, but they're thrilled. They're like, oh my God, I had all these problems with HR, people coming, people leaving, my best leave, they'd spa hop. I found that term out about a year ago. I would spend $10,000, $20,000. I'm parroting when I've heard $10,000 or $20,000 a month marketing for patients. And then they would leave with the provider and they weren't mine. I had to buy, large amounts of product to make certain tiers. With us, they automatically piggyback on our tier and our pricing. So it's a huge win for them. It makes their life super simple. They can have literally no employees. And there's examples like this actually in the salon space. You may have heard of Phoenix Salon Space. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My solo salon suites, my salon.
Yeah.
They've done this. There's, I think, 2,500 of these roughly in the United States that do this for hair care. Here, we're trying to do it in nicer spots, but it's the exact same concept.
Same concept.
Yeah. And I like to look at all this stuff. I call it the cloud. People say, are you using that word cloud just so that it's cool and hip and has a techie vibe? And I said, no. I said, cloud is a incorrectly used term. And as an engineer and having been in Silicon Valley, cloud was kind of popularized by AWS and cloud services. But at the end of the day, you look up, the first cloud was electricity. All cloud means to me as a tech person is it's rentable, it's scalable, and it's on demand. So I can turn it on or I can turn it off. It's on demand. It's scalable. I can go from 1 watt to a gigawatt. And it's rentable. I only pay for what I use. I don't pay a big fixed cost. So they've done that with kitchens now. There's cloud kitchens. All these concepts are really about taking a huge fixed cost and spreading it out. We've done it with cars. Truro and Uber is doing it with your personal car. You're willing to drive. Airbnb is taking excess space in your house and renting it out. Take all these ideas of high fixed costs, which med spas are, you know that better than I do, and saying, I've now got to amortize that fixed cost against both the providers and the patients I can bring in. Well, what if I had it as a utility, like electricity, for anyone to use? And I just rent out the space, I rent out the machines, I provide all the services around it and make it super simple. Now, it's literally like Uber. In Uber's case, they bring the customer to them. But here, I've said, this is an industry where people have their group of customers. There's loyal customers. You're a provider, you bring a set of customers, you could just make so much money, set your own out. It's complete workplace flexibility. We're talking about this with remote work. People are doing 10 hours a week with us, 10 hours a week, and making over $100,000 a year.
Oh my God. All right. I know we've talked about so many things and I have like so many questions.
Sorry,
No. But I really want to like dissect it.
Sure.
Because there's going to be so many questions. And so I'm going to back up for a second because my first question was going to be sort of explain the concept, which you did at a very high level. But I really love what you said because obviously when we connected in one of the questions that you and I had originally talked about was the services, the gross profit of those services. What should your model be? How do you charge people? And we'll talk about that. But it's interesting because, and most everybody knows that for Terri, I had Terri Ross Consulting taking on private clients for 10, 12 years. That's not scalable, but Apex platform is scalable, right? It's exactly what it is. And yet we still have where I think we're in our 5th program of helping practices that truly do have a narrative, a desire, a passion, a story, which could be your same client too. Maybe they start with you and then eventually want to build their own brick and mortar. But that requires a lot of overhead, right? Probably upwards of 1.5 million. Let's not fool anybody. What I'm loving about your model, and so while you explained the concept, if we could dive a little bit deeper, because you did talk about that you guys handle the booking and the renting of the equipment and the products and the buying power and basically they're just showing up. So who's your avatar client? Who is it? Somebody that is already in business? Do I have an established base of patients? What if I'm brand new? What if I don't have anybody?
All of the above. So let me take it in 2 pieces. I'll take it first from the provider side. So you're an inspector, you're a practitioner, you're either new to the business or you have a 500 client book of business. It doesn't matter. You can be any and all of the above from 0 to 1, the whole shooting match. And you say, okay, in the Dallas area, I make about 15, 20% of the gross margin. That's the numbers. That's what a provider injector would do. We say you can make about 50%. You can triple your income at least coming to a CloudMedSpa. How do you do that? Well, let me do a simple example. If you do 2 neurotoxin treatments and they are each, let's call it $500, that's 2 you do as the provider. You collect the money from your patient. So you collect 500 twice in an hour. That's very straightforward. That's not rushing. to do.
Right. Simple. Yeah, exactly. And that's not that they could probably be way more efficient, by the way, but let's go for the sake of this example. Okay.
Yeah. For the sake of example, simple numbers, 2 times 500, you get about 1,000 of revenue. You can buy that neurotoxin for those treatments at about low to mid-teens per unit. You can buy that from us for about $400. So you've now gone 1,000 minus 400, $600, and you pay us at Vansanity $99 an hour. Some people charge $69 an hour, some of our partners, but you could see the provider has just now made $501 in 1 hour. So the $250, I say, you people may be thinking I was joking. You can make more. That's the provider side. So now I'm the Medspa owner, 5 or 10 injectors and, 3, 4 rooms. And my best 2 are driving the business. This is very common. And they're saying, you know what, I got a better deal across the street. I'm going to leave. And the other one says, I want to take some time off. All of a sudden, all my overheads, my other 5 or 6 injectors that may not be quite as prolific, all my benefits I'm paying them, the salary, the rent, the lease payments on machines, all this is still going on, all my fixed costs. I have buried, like you said, $1.5 million, but let's just say $1 million. I got to pay that off, the loans on that. And they're just up to their eyeballs with fixed costs. And they're like, I've got all these people, the best ones leave, the worst ones, I have trouble transitioning.
Kick them out.
Yeah, and the mediocre ones are kind of hanging on. And this is like Amazon, another tech example. It's like Amazon Marketplace. People think people print money. Well, there's 6 million merchants, but 600,000 do over 100K in revenue. Only 60,000 do over $1 million in sales, and so on. So this is a platform for the absolute best. And it doesn't mean you're experienced. You could be a newbie that's super hungry, super driven. Those are the providers that are going to succeed here. And the spas are to get out from under this. I don't want these fixed costs. I don't want to spend $1 on marketing. So we've said to them, your HR line, you're spending on 10 people, it's whatever, tens of thousands of dollars a month in HR costs. That goes to zero. You have no employee. All those marketing costs, 10, 20,000 to get patients for these people, that goes to zero. Zero.
Yeah.
All you pay is rent and utilities. And now you rent out the rooms to these fantastic providers. And you take the products from our system. And, there's a little bit of profit there. You have energy-based devices that you've either purchased or we can set you up with several of these manufacturers who say they're willing to put it in your location for $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month, cancelable. Okay. It's not a lease where you're locked in for 36 months. It's cancelable. They're saying, put it in there. You owe it for the month. Give us 30 days notice, and then we'll just take it out of there if it's not working. But training will be there to support you. And then all our software we can cover inventory management, payment processing, scheduling, and all kinds of other services on top of that. Actually, financial dashboards, branding, all sorts of things that go into this thing. So the key is the med spas that are, let's say, marginal to struggling can completely turn their business around. The ones that are doing well, God bless them, and I wish them luck, but I'm telling you that if this alternative exists in your geography, be careful, because your best employee injectors are going to say, wait a second, I was spa hopping to go from 15% to 18% to 20%. Well, we know where that ends. It ends at the CloudMedSpa, 50%. And you're not going to do better than that. So go right there. And that's what I've said to people. If you're looking to be one of our non-branded franchises, don't go to some location that's out of the way. Find where all the med spas are. Go stick yourself right in the middle of them, because your client base is the 5, 10 employees at each one of these. you're right there in a target-rich environment of 200 injectors, and you have a platform that the best can flourish. They can make the same money and work a quarter of the hours, or work the same hours, and if they have the client base, make 2 or 3 or 4 times the money.
Okay, you come from like a private equity, right? We know there's a whole lot of PE money right now. They're coming in, swooping up these places, and they want, highly run businesses, not these distressed practices. And we work with our clients a lot to get them there.
Yep.
So we talked about the provider benefits. Okay, so let's just say I'm a provider has a brick and mortar space. And to your point, we can talk about all these crazy expenses that they have. And it's a whole lot of stuff. The profit margins aren't really that high.
Yeah.
I guess you're not buying their place, but do they have to sell it? Like, how does that work if I have
exactly where they are, but they say to their employees, it's not a salaried model. It's not a commission model. You have your clients. I'm admitting that the clients are yours. They're not mine. And by the way, they don't even have to completely convert their model. They may say because we've had people who said, I'm going to keep a piece of my business the old way, and I'm going to do a piece of this new way. I'm going to put myself in both worlds. But what they say is, I'm staying with the real estate I have, or looking at a new real estate if I want to expand. And I am going to tell my employees, you have a social media account, you have, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, you're engaging with your customer base all the time. That's even more reinforcing that that's where the relationship is. You guys can have those customers. All you do with me, like we work, is schedule hours at the spa now. And we have all that software. Hey, registered nurse, Jane Doe, you want to work Tuesdays and Saturdays for 6 hours, 9 to 3. You book, room ABC for those 6 hours. It's yours. You've got those blocks of time. You're renting it. And by the way, you want to go to Italy in July? Just go to Italy in July. Time yours. You paid enough money. You have complete flexibility. I'm going to take that Tuesday off because my child has a lacrosse tournament. I'm taking that Tuesday off. And if you have if you have 8 days a month, your clients will change. They'll move their days around. So we handle the scheduling of the space and the machines. What I have found, we have considered doing the scheduling of patients as well, but we have found that there is way too many changes of schedule dynamics there between the when people want to come. They'd rather come in a block of time, and then they can handle that flow, the individual provider.
So that was what I was going to ask. So like you said, they're renting this room, this space for this block of time.
Yeah.
Could anyone do it like indefinitely? Like I want to be here 5 days a week for 8 hours a day?
They can book 1 hour a month. They can book 40 hours, 50 hours, 100 hours a month. They can book whatever. They have complete flexibility on their app. They can cancel in advance. I mean, it's amazing. And so we have this tool that just gives complete flexibility to the provider and gives them all the tools they need, whether it's devices or products. We have relationships with all the top vendors. And then we're just saying to every spa, we think this is a better mousetrap. In fact, that's where we have the most success, I will say, is when there's a new group that's considering a med spa, a new idea, and they have a fresh, clear head. They're not dragged down by their legacy systems. They haven't looked at it, like, this is the way I've always done business. Like, I'm opening a med spa. How should I do it? You're like, I could do it the old way, where I have HR, I have marketing, the clients are tenuous, blah, 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 all these, or I could just do it this way and just have one fixed cost, which is the rent or the mortgage if you purchased it. And then I just have to find really good providers. And that's another thing we found is if you start to scale this nationally, that would be arrogant of us to say, we're going to know the provider base where you are in LA. How would I know the provider base better than you? You know the provider base. You know those 20, 30, 50 providers you think are super fantastic, have a great book of business. You just say, how about renting rooms from us at this great location? All the products and devices will be at your fingertips, and you make as much or as little money on whatever time schedule you want to do.
Now, what if there's treatments that you guys don't have? Because I think what I heard you saying, right? You have an app, you have software, you handle the buying of these things, right? They're buying it. So they're saving money there. Well, what if a practice is offering things that you don't have?
Oh, we have had this where practices that have come in, some that might have purchased, let's say, devices in the past that are expensive. They're like, well, can I just put them on the system? I go, absolutely. And you rent them out, and we'll add it to the software. It's really simple. It takes 10 seconds. We'll just add it to your list of inventory or devices or whatever. And you rent it out, you sell it, it doesn't matter. The other thing that's great about this used to be asked me before, established ones, but I think we've covered the established. What about a new one? I'm a new nurse. I'm burned out, and working 3 shifts for the last several hours, 36 hours a week for the last several years. And I'm kind of burned out, and it's getting to me. Hey, you know what? Start this on the weekends. Or if you finally get big enough, take a shift off. Keep 2 shifts. Take a shift where you just are working in aesthetics and build your business slowly. You have no fix. You have a $69 a month membership. That's your fixed cost. $69 a month as a provider. And that's it. And then you can start bringing friends and family and treating them. You can start posting on social media. Start looking at search marketing, maybe some offline stuff to start getting your customer base built, but you do it completely at your pace. You don't have to even book 1 hour a month. You owe the $69, but you can book 1 hour. I don't know of any of our franchises that have required minimum hours. So the goal is you can be brand new, or you can have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of clients. And this system accommodates anyone and through their journey. In fact, like you said, I want to do my own brick and mortar. We have an answer for that too. So of our 7 locations that have been non-branded franchises or MSOs, depending on how you want to look at it, 3 of them were actually practitioners in our Boston office.
Okay.
And they said, oh, it's great. I'm doing really well. I love this idea, but it's downtown Boston, right across from Fenway on Commonwealth Avenue. And they were like, I have some clients and some friends, by the way, that would love to do this, but they're 20 miles north, or they're 20 miles south, or they're 20 miles west. They can't be 20 miles east and be in the ocean. But they're like, I want to do my own. Could I do this? We're like, absolutely. We can be the back end, all the infrastructure, software, payment processing, etc., for you in your new business, your new CloudMedSpa, and you can operate out of there. You can decide to rent out to other people or not. You can do whatever you like with this software and just take it to wherever you want to take it.
I love it. Okay, so let's talk about, there seems to be, again, a million positive things.
Yeah.
What are some of the, if any, negatives or challenges that somebody, or just questions that have come up for you?
Sure. Oh, let me touch on one other thing. I don't want to be too Pollyannish, but you mentioned about private equity. That's another selling point. So let me go back to the canonical example of 3-4 treatment rooms and 5 or 10 injectors. That business, as you know, as I know, can never be sold to private equity because it's not big enough. Not in terms of dollars even, but in terms of risk diversification. Like I said, 1 or 2 are doing the business. If they leave, that business falls on its face. So private equity won't touch it. They will typically look to a practice or a multi-location that has 40 injectors minimum. Guess what? With the CloudMedSpa, that 3 or 4 room treatment room spa can have 50 renters. So you have a totally diversified revenue stream and you could sell it. What is the downside? So The downside is if you're an injector and maybe you're not quite as motivated. Maybe you are, this is a job. It's not a career. It's not a passion. It's just a job. You want to make some money. You don't want to think about it. You don't want to have to do marketing. And for those people, I would say this is not a good fit. I would caution them in saying, if this is the Netflix and the old model is Blockbuster, it'll be hard to compete. I don't know how else to say it, because if there are 2 or 3 CloudMedSpas in a town of, very wealthy town that might have 40 or 50, it's going to be pretty quickly the providers, the best ones, will start to figure it out and go, wait a second, I should go there to do my business because I'll make way more money on my own time. And if the existing spas start trying to compete to retain them, they won't be able to make any money themselves. They'll fall of their own weight because they'll be carrying the less productive employees. So it is the natural evolution. One thing I've learned in my business life, both Wall Street and tech, is that economic gravity is just like regular gravity. It always wins.
Let's say somebody's listening to this podcast. And I work at ABC Aesthetics and I love it. Maybe I'm happy there.
Right.
But in my mind, I'm one of these people that are doing well and I'm a high generator.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, shit, I want to maybe look into this thing.
Yeah.
Has it ever caused any friction that somebody has a job and is employed someplace else and then they learn about this and then they're like, hey, well, maybe this is a better thing. Yeah. And then how does that play out? I understand, and we'll get a little bit more defined so that people understand the business model. They're paying you this monthly $69.99.
Yeah.
But does that person go to their boss and say, hey, let me introduce you to this cloud-based Medspa concept? Or am I sneaking around behind somebody's back and then I want to come work for you? Or is there like
they're not working for us. They're working for themselves.
So they're still okay. So they're working
for themselves. We're not the employer.
Right. Okay.
They're basically deciding, I'm much better off being my own LLC, my own boss, setting my own hours with my clients. There are some problems, I guess, with non-competes, although we're seeing that at the federal level. They want to get rid of non-competes. Already the FTC and the SEC are looking at that, which I think is a good thing personally. So those have fallen there. They don't exist. They're not legal in Massachusetts anymore. There are non-solicits, but the reality of that is that it's kind of moot because people have a social media presence.
Right, 100%. Right, you can find me.
I don't have to solicit them. I have followers.
Yeah.
They follow me. They say, I'm now practicing out of this. Look at these pictures. It's beautiful. Blah, blah, blah. It's a real tough one for an existing spa. If you don't seriously consider this model, I think it's going to be difficult. It's why hair salons, I keep saying it, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, more than 90% of the hair salons, not 90% of the dollars, it's less than that, but more than 90, I think it's 92% of hair salons now do chair rent. 92% the math doesn't work. The math doesn't work because the people are not loyal to the establishment. They're loyal to the stylist. Same thing.
Yeah.
They're loyal to the injector. They're loyal to the technician. And so this is where it's headed. I hope Vansanity and CloudMedSpa is the driver of it, but it's hard for me to imagine a future world 10, 20 years from now where this isn't the predominant model.
No, and listen, you are definitely onto something. And what came out, like I'm sure you're part of, Follow AmSpa, came out in their report, I think this 2023 or 2022, I think they'll be a little over, almost close to 10,000. Still brick and mortar, but those profitability numbers are just the average revenue per patient was so pathetically low. It's embarrassing. So which helps us teach, again, these profitable things and for practices to be efficient. You talked about 7 locations, and I know that I've tried to send you business where it doesn't fit my model. And are you on the West Coast yet?
We aren't, but we have conversations with 2 or 3, one in Northern California and one in Southern California, and then 2 in Arizona that are in the process, in our pipeline for looking at this model. And like I said, it's a really straightforward argument for good business people. And yeah, we're super excited to expand and then internationally, because it's a lot easier then for us to expand internationally with the regulatory environments, because when we're doing it as an MSO, there's a legal construct and there's arrangements between us, but they have to follow the local regulatory environment as the Medspa owner.
So where are these 7 locations right now?
There's one in Georgia, one in Tennessee, one in New Jersey, one in Texas, and then the 3 in the Boston.
Okay, fantastic. And so if somebody wanted, to get started, they're going to hear this podcast. They're like, holy shit, sign me up. It made a lot of money. I want to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
How does it get started? What do they need to do?
Yeah, they just reach me at Iggy at Vansanity.com or Iggy at CloudMedSpas, plural. And you can go to our either website, CloudMedSpas.com or Vansanity.com, and get more information. The CloudMedSpa, like I said, is the platform one that we are offering to any third party. The Vansanity one is the branded 2 owned and operated locations that we have in Boston and Dallas. But again, they're just models. They're kind of like, when you go to a development, and there's a house, there's a model house. We have 2 model houses that people can take a look at, come visit us, check them out, and say, I can do this. Or they can talk to our CloudMedSpa partners now who are growing. Like we had our first one in September, so it's been 5 months. And we literally we start marketing this week. We have not literally marketed for this at all. They just have reached out to us and found us. So, I think that this could really start to hit an inflection point in the next few months.
And Iggy, if there's any, when you guys talked about, we talked a lot about it. So I get the concept of why and who is this for and who's your target audience. But if you had to leave with some final parting words in terms of, the listeners, who this is for, where you're like, shut your eyes. I'm always asking people like, what's your why? Shut your eyes. Where do you want to be? We're still early on into this year. People have to we don't know this market. People are still going to spend money, but it's not a bull market, and people have to be smart with their business choices right now. Yeah. And so what would that resounding sort of heartfelt message be?
Do an A/B comparison. You have your own numbers as an owner of your Medspa. You know them better than I will. Take a look at ours. Compare the 2, yourself versus what it could be, what it is for our partners. And then take a really hard look and say, where are things headed? It's kind of like whether it's AI or whether it was the internet or, all these changes, electric cars, electrification. These trends are not going to change things overnight, but they're inexorable. They are moving that way. And if you either can go with it or get run over by it. And I suggest people go with it.
I love that. I'm going to use that shit. No, I love it. And I love when you gave the analogy about what does cloud mean to you? Because I think you bring a different flavor coming from Wall Street and tech. You bring a lot of great business background. And again, somebody of your status and stature would not have decided after your success when you could be sailing in, the middle of Saint-Tropez right now on your yacht, but you're not. And you're like, hey, finding this untapped need in a market that's needed and giving people an opportunity to be able to do it and be successful and make money from it. even when you and I were talking about the business model of what they pay, I was like, well, shit, how are you going to make any money? Right. But it's this, what you said, what cloud means, and this rentable, scalable, on demand. I love it so much. So Iggy, thank you so much. It was such an honor to reconnect with you. I'm so always honored that we met in the first place. You bring so much joy and innovation to the industry. And I really want to just, again, recap Iggy Fanlo, again, CEO and founder of Vansanity. And this model is about, again, this WeWork concept for medical aesthetic practitioners, entrepreneurs that want this new CloudMedSpa model. If this is you, if you just really want to step out of your comfort zone and learn more, we will put in the show notes where to find and get in touch with Iggy. But thank you again so much, you guys. Thank you for always tuning in to In Touch with Terri. If you found this valuable, I always invite you to please share this. I always appreciate your time. And if you want to stay updated on any of our upcoming events, all of our new platform releases within Apex, our industry news, subscribe to our newsletters, and or more on this podcast, you can visit us at channels@apexplatform.com. And again, always find a way to reach out to me. So Iggy, thank you so much. Honored to have you.
Terri, thank you so.
You're welcome. And I'll see you guys on the next episode of In Touch with Terri. Ciao.
Thanks for listening to In Touch with Terri. We invite you to schedule a discovery call with our Apex team. The link to apexplatform.com can be found in the show notes. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode of In Touch with Terri.